Amazon Web Services, AWS Foundations. This nugget's always a little weird for me to record because it's the first one that you see as you come into the series, but it's usually the last one that I record because I want to know what this entire series encompasses before I welcome you and tell you what to expect. It makes sense, right? So when I say this series is fantastic, you can believe me because I've just finished it. I just finished putting it all together. So two major objectives that I have in this, getting the most from this series nugget. Number one is to welcome you to the cloud. Or if you're a Matrix fan, I try to write it like Morpheus would say it. Welcome to the cloud. Horrible impression, but you know where I'm going. So I want to give you just a flyby because it's really what the first nugget is all about right after this, is kind of what is AWS, what is cloud, help me understand that and all of that. So I want to welcome you to the cloud initially and lead into where we're going. And then second, I want to show you how to get the most from this series. Maybe this is the first CBT Nugget series you've taken, or you've taken a few of them and you're like, okay, I want to maximize my learning. I want to give you some tips on that. Every now and then, a company comes out with a marketing campaign that is hugely successful. For example, Verizon, doing the "Can you hear me now" marketing campaign, and they stick things in your head. So Apple, a few years back when they released, I think it was the iPhone, did this. This changes everything. Like every other word they said in the presentation. This changes everything. Every commercial. This changes everything. So it becomes one of those catchphrases you just can't say without people. It's kind of like when you're on the phone and it cuts out and you're like, oh, can you hear me now? And the other person on the other end's like, oh, it's kind of like Verizon. Yeah. So they like stole key phrases that you just can't say without people giggling anymore. So my point is, I'm not trying to promote Apple by any means by saying this changes everything. There's just no other way to say it. Cloud computing really does change everything. Amazon AWS really does change everything. It's moving everything into a centrally managed environment in the cloud, in multiple data centers worldwide. And so when I say the cloud is upon us, a couple things I want to mention on that. Does that mean, if you're not in cloud computing, you're obsolete in a year? Well, no, it doesn't. There's also misconceptions. What is cloud computing? I mean, some people, you say cloud computing, they go, oh yeah, Google Docs, right? And you're like, well, yeah, I guess, kinda. Microsoft SkyDrive, or oh yeah, I use Citrix too, or oh yeah, VMware, like virtual desktops. Is that what you mean? Well, kinda, sorta, maybe no. So when you say cloud, I mean nobody's really. If you're looking for the definitive, what is the cloud? It really just means running things off-site. You could say, yeah, I just went to Google this morning on the web and I'm in the cloud, or I surfed Microsoft's website. I'm in the cloud because you're accessing a cloud-based resource, if you will. So the cloud is upon us. It's a big phrase. It's been upon us for years and years. It's just now people are starting to say, wow, there's a lot of technology out there, and there's a lot of bandwidth, and there's a new way of thinking that may make things a lot more efficient for me. That's where Amazon AWS comes into play. Amazon AWS, the reason this series exists is they have been going at this the longest. Long ago, Amazon built their company, and they built an infrastructure that dreams are made of. And that's why Amazon has been, one of the most stable, amazing companies that are out there. And, somewhere along the road, they kind of looked at it and they go, we've just built the most amazing infrastructure in the world. I wonder if we can do something else other than sell books with it. And someone says, let's create an AWS. And AWS was born, right? They started working with the tools that they had already built for their company that had made them wildly successful, and packaging it into this system that anybody can use, and it can scale amazingly. Matter of fact, and you'll probably see this in one of the later nuggets. This was such a trip. NASA, right, just landed their Mars rover, and they were like, okay, we're gonna stream live video from Mars, and people will be able to watch it and see what's going on with this rover. And so one of the of course there's technology challenges, right? You're talking to Mars. You're talking to a creature, a robot moving around Mars, and you're streaming it back to Earth. Okay, so monumental challenge number one, get it to Earth. Okay, now let's think about monumental challenge number two. It's at Earth. We're streaming this to the world. Millions of people are going to be coming in to this site to try and watch this little, whatever it is, Mars creature roaming around the planet. How do we handle that kind of load? Well, NASA went ahead and said, let's turn to not NASA, that'd be NASA. Wait, I was spelling it right. NASA turned to Amazon and said, "Hey, you've got this amazing infrastructure. Can we use it for a couple days?" I mean, that's literally the kind of mindset that Amazon AWS has. Sure, come on in. Blast us with 1 million hits a second for people to watch this Mars rover, and then you can just shut it all down. You don't have to bring up a data center. You don't have to scale anything. We'll scale it for you. So I mean that's kind of the mindset that they're going in. So when you think about, okay, are there other cloud computing companies? Sure there are. Are there people trying to do what Amazon's doing? Absolutely. There's competitors all over the place. However, Amazon has been doing it the longest. They've been in this and they have the most experience, and I would say their pace of development is insane. More on that in just a moment. So the series focus. This series is all about core AWS administration. When you get into this, when you start opening the box and unpacking it of Amazon AWS, it's kind of like, initially you're like, okay, so it's a server in the cloud, right? And then you open this box and that box and this box, and you're like, wow. Oh, I don't, wait, databases, what? I mean, you start getting into stuff where it's almost like there's no one man or woman who can know everything AWS. It's just the skill sets go across the board. Now, I'm sure there are people that have skill sets in programming, in networking, in database administration, in server administration, in fill in the blank. But really, to understand core AWS or understand AWS in its entirety, you have to be a super genius. You have to be a super IT person. So what I decided to do was this initial series will focus on the core. What I mean is this is going to give you enough to really get into AWS, to get into building your own cloud infrastructure, and matches with the core IT person. So you're a day-to-day IT person working at a company. You do server administration. You work with clients. You've mapped some printers. You've created some shares. You've hosted a website. You know what DNS is. I mean, all those kind of things. This is you. The series is targeted for you, the core administrator. So when I say the prerequisites, so going through this, I really couldn't come up with a core prerequisite. I mean, do you need to know this or that? I mean, I could say it could be anybody, but you need to have an IT mindset. You need to think of, okay, what is IT? We're sharing resources, right? Why are we sharing resources? How are resources accessed? How do we secure our resources? I mean, those kind of mindsets are what you need going into this. Otherwise, you start seeing this, you're like, okay, I see what he's doing, but why is he doing that again? Whereas an IT person would be like, oh, I totally can see not only what he's doing, but I can see 5 other uses for that. Wow, let's run with this. All right, last thing before I launch into the series is I want to talk about how to get the most from this series. I know some of you are looking, going, how did he get here? Normally, I have a picture of whatever lab environment I recommend. Like if I'm teaching a Microsoft series, I'll put some clients and servers there, or Cisco, I'll have some routers and switches, or just something. And I'm thinking, how do I picture a cloud lab? Just cloud, and so I've just finally just pulled this guy out of the woodwork. 1.21 gigawatts of power that you need to power this environment, and go back to the future. If you don't know who that is, you've got to get up on your 1980s movies. So first tip that I have is the beauty of CBT Nuggets is you have access to it to where you can watch it again and again and again and again. We just remember things that we've heard many times. For example, how did I remember that he said 1.21 gigawatts? Well, probably because I watched Back to the Future 500 million times when I was young. Or how, I'll be 80 years old and someone will say, "Can you hear me now?" And I'll go, oh, I was just saying I'll be 80 years old, and I was like, no, I probably will say, no, I can't hear you now. I have bionic implants where we transmit signals in our brain via Wi-Fi signal. So anyway, so you get the point. Repetition is huge to embed this in your head. Second off, use different modalities. Like for instance, you'll see through the series, as I'm just talking and thinking, I'll draw. Okay, I've got a server going to a client, so to where I am so visually oriented. I'm handicapped if I don't don't have a whiteboard. Like if I go somewhere and we're sitting around a conference room table and people are talking, if there's no whiteboard that we're diagramming things on, I pull out a piece of it. I mean, we could be talking about, let's go to the vending machine and get a Mars candy bar, and I have to draw up a little map. I'm like, okay, we're going out the wall, and then we're going to come over here to a little vending machine. Just because my mind is so visually oriented that if I just say things and talk it through, I get confused. It frustrates my wife to no end because she loves to talk, but I kind of drift, and I'm like, what, huh, what? I have to write things down. So if you're like me, jot some notes down, and write. If it just helps, as you're talking, you're like, okay, EC2, server instance, you're just putting some down key facts that you're hearing. It doesn't even have to make sense. Sometimes just getting your pen and paper going will help you a ton. This is the one I'm happiest about: building a lab. I've taught all kinds of technology, and it's tough when I get here because it usually means I'm telling somebody you got to drop some cash. You need to go out and buy a couple $1,000s of Cisco equipment, or build a few servers and set up some VMs at home to try and get some server client experience, or what. It's usually going to take quite a bit. AWS is so cool that they just charge you for what you use. Now, what I'm not saying is everything's going to be free, building a lab. Although Amazon will let you do quite a bit for free to just kick the tires on this thing and learn it. Matter of fact, you can do almost everything for free, but I'm going to start taking you places where you're going to want a couple instances running at the same time. You're going to want to set up, maybe a virtual private cloud environment with networking going between them. What I'm saying is just have a credit card ready. Not for me, although that's welcome. For AWS, to put that into the system, they're going to charge you a few cents an hour to run, some pretty decent server. So you may end up paying, $20 to get some really good hands-on lab experience by the time this series is done. And that's even being liberal. I would say, well, what are you doing? That it charged you $20 for? You must have forgot to turn off your servers when you were done or something. That cost came in. So you can get a whole lot of experience just by signing up for an AWS account. That's coming up. That is critical. So let me add one more thing. As you're going through these nuggets, do them. You're going to see me doing a lot in the AWS Management Console. Do it yourself. Build your own lab environment. I mean, if nothing more, mirror what I'm doing and say, okay, well, I did it myself. Just doing it as you're watching it will be helpful, but also then go beyond. I guarantee you're going to see something, and I'll be scrolling down, and you'll see something fly by of like, oh, what was that? And you're going to go on there, and you're going to be like, oh, well, okay, let me what is that? Feed, and you start Googling around, and you say, okay, oh, that makes sense, and actually that transitions right here. Dig deeper. As you go through things, you're going to see a ton of stuff. This is the core administration. You're going to see a ton of stuff that either I touch on lightly, or I don't even touch on it. I just say, oh yeah, there's this feature over there called whatever, and you might go, oh well, that'd be interesting for me. So dig deeper, start getting into that. Also, sign up for the AWS newsletter. It's like Christmas every month. AWS is, I would say, the most rapidly developed product line I've ever seen. As in, it's so rapidly developed that it took me about maybe a little more, 2 months to create this series. From the beginning of the series to the end, you're going to see, core interfaces of AWS look different. Some of the management features, it's like, oh, wow, hey, we just added, improved performance for EBS storage. It's just like, amazing stuff is being developed every single month, and they have the AWS newsletter that covers all that. If you want to keep tabs on what's new, what's amazing, sign up for that. Every month you're going to be like, wow, look at that, and you're going to go in there. It's like you get a Christmas present every month. Lastly, I know it sounds cheesy. You're going, well, what is that? Fall in love with this technology. That's the best way to learn it, know it, use it. And that's one of the things. Whenever I get into something new, there's always initially, and you won't know it's this, but it really is, there's a fear of it. And the way that you'll know that you have a fear of a product is because you don't like it. For example, for years and years and years, Linux, when somebody's like, "Oh, it's Linux," I'm like, "Hey, Linux is a four-letter word for me. I don't go there." And it's like I would immediately portray it like, "Why do I want to do that? The interface is clunky. It's hokey. Blah blah blah." I'm just bashing on Linux. Why? I don't like it. But at the root of that, when I peel all that away, it's because I don't have a clue about Linux. You throw me into Linux, and I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. I'm trying. I'm like, what's going on? Why did it do? Wait a sec. I just deleted the file, and now I've corrupted the whole Ubuntu instance, huh? To where it scares the daylights out of me that working with this thing, I could blow something up so easily that I fear it, and because of that, I don't like it. So the way that you fall in love with AWS is by getting it to where you really start pushing yourself and saying, "Well, I don't understand that." And instead of stopping there and just be like, "Ew, I don't want to go there," push yourself into it and start learning. I mean, start reading documents, start going through the nuggets a couple times, and go, "Okay, I get it." And the more that you know about something, I guarantee you will start to like it. Now, fall in love is a strong connotation, but that's what I mean, that's the place that you've got to get to. The more you pour yourself into something, you're just going to be like, "Oh, I can't get enough." And this you'll become the kind of person that, goes home at night and brings up the AWS account. Is like, "Oh, I just want to generate a couple instances. I got a great idea." Maybe it's not AWS, but it's what you can do with AWS. You're like, "I want to get a NASA Mars rover going myself." Or maybe you don't start that big. Maybe you just for instance, let me give you a good example. I got a 180-gallon saltwater fish tank. And I had to leave to go to work, right? And I was like, "Man, I love my fish tank." And I was like, "Oh, I just got a great idea. I want to set up a fish cam." And so I go out and I go buy a little webcam, and I'm like, "Oh man!" And this was long ago before we had the wireless webcams and all that kind of stuff. I built a small little computer that I set beside my fish tank with a USB webcam on there, and I'm like, "Okay, how do I stream this?" I mean, I got some freaking amazing experience setting up a fish cam, building a web server, setting up Java applets so this little webcam can stream to it, just so I can watch my fish tank at work. Now, come on. I mean, it all starts with just a simple idea, and then you get to that technology, and now you're able to come in when you're at the office, and they're like, "Yeah, we need security cameras for Wing B, C," and you're like, "Oh, dude, this is like my fish cam." And now, don't tell them that. Don't say I've got fish cam experience. I mean, just be like, "Oh yeah, I've totally done stuff like this." Play it off like that. But the point is, as you go through this and you start seeing some of the cool ideas I think throughout the series, I start using a company that I made up called Ephemeral Life, like an online gaming company. That we're creating this ephemeral life game, and we're building all the servers to support it. I mean, come up with your own brilliant idea. Not that Ephemeral Life is brilliant, and go with it. I mean, that's where you really start seeing the power of this, is you fall in love with it, and then you're amazing at it, and then nothing can stop you from, whether it's career, finances, whatever you're going after. I always tell people, when I do introductions in classroom training. People are like, "So who am I?" I say, "Well, my name is Jeremy Chara. My interests, I would say there's three things that drive me: God, family, technology. Outside of that, I am an extremely boring person." and that's it. That's what I pour myself into, those three aspects, and I do it with all my passion that I've got. And you can become amazing at anything if you do that. So, with that, I will launch you into this series with AWS. It is really a neat series. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.